My name is Aditya Ojha, and this video is about the Dining-Concierge application made by me and Ananya Gangver. This is my Albert profile. Now let's go to the AWS console. In here, let's go to the S3 service first. And in my S3, there are two things: the chatbot and the ES data. In the chatbot, if you go to permissions, it has all the things so that it can be publicly accessible, like block all public access. And as this is a static website, I also have the policies to make it so. And nothing else. Now if I go to the objects, this is my entry point, chart.html. The second is basically the ES data, and that's it. Let's go to the users. This is my user Aditya one. He has all the necessary permissions for everything. And let's go to the API gateway. Now in API gateway, if I go to the API gateway, we can see that there is my chatbot API. And in the post method, if a client makes a request, my lambda function lf0 is invoked and a response is generated accordingly. Now once this is done, let's go to the lambda functions, which is lambda function lf0. This is the basic entry point for my application, and here I just call the lex bot and I process the message. My bot is called dining bot and the version is first, and this is the basic lambda handler event containing the necessary headers for course so that it's enabled for that. Basic exceptions handling that here. Now let's go to the second lambda function, which is lf1. lf1 contains all the intents related part to my application, like it sends, like in the send SQS sends a message to the SQS queue. Now these are the helper functions like elicit, delegate, close, and everything. And these are the validation functions: is valid, valid email, valid dining suggestions, etc. This is the function for the dining suggestions intent. And here the extra credit part of the assignment is covered. So if I get the slots and I get the session attributes, and if the email has I check through the function called check previous email, and if a matching thing is found in my DB, then I just send the last recommendations to that email, and then I go to the next slot. Otherwise, if nothing is like this happens, it proceeds in the normal way. Here the intents are handled, the greeting and the thank you intents, and the basic dispatcher of my function, which basically dispatches to the correct intent based on what Lexbot provides. And this is the check previous function, in which I check the previous records in my DB, and if the email is matched, it sends. And this is the send email function, which extract the restaurants part from my DB, which is called previous records, by the way. And this is the lambda and the event for this. Now the final function is the lf2 function, and if we go to the lf2 function, we can see that it basically works like this. Like it handles the SQS client, it handles the simple email services, it handles the DynamoDB extractions and making the restaurant recommendations, like save previous recommendations. Here it creates right here it creates all the restaurant suggestions for me. Then it queries the ES, which is this. Then it goes to the fetch restaurant info from my table called Yelp restaurants. Then format email body, sending the email and everything. Now if I go to my Lex, there is a bot called dining bot. There are three intents: dining, greeting, thank you. In dining, there are these utterances. My lambda function elf1 is invoked by the Lex bot. These are the email, location, cuisine, number of people, dining time. And on the fulfillment part also, the lf function is invoked. This is my dining suggestions intent. Greeting intent is also containing the lf1 code hook, and for fulfillment as well, the lf1. And the thank you intent is handling that also. Now once this is done, let's go to the DynamoDB. If we go to the tables, I have two tables. First is Yelp restaurants. It contains all the necessary details regarding my restaurants, like for Indian, Chinese, and Italian. And if I go to the previous records table, it doesn't have anything yet because I have not created a user right now. Once I create a user, you can expect to see something here. Now if I go to my dashboard for the open search service, you can see that I have created this restaurants dash data. This is my URL, this is my endpoints, configurations, cluster configurations, basic configurations, nothing out of the ordinary. Now if we go to the queues, this is my Q1. Here the data is pushed by the user when we access it through the online web application. But as you can see, it's empty right now, because in my lf2 function, I call this function called, I just delete the SQS queue once the user is finished. Once the user has finished typing in the information, it deletes automatically. Then this is my event bridge, the dining scheduler. It calls the lf2 function when invoked. That's it here. And these are the identities, like the two emails from which I send and receive emails from. Now, if I go to the bot and if I reload it, and let's say I just say, hey, it says, how can I help? I say, I want restaurant suggestions. It says, can you give me your email? Now, let's put a fake email like ASD, which is not a correct email. Can you give me your email address? It asks again. So I give my correct email address, which is ao2612@nyu.edu. Now, once I put the email, what city? If I put a city which is not supported, like Brooklyn, it says that we do not have dining suggestions for Brooklyn. Do you want to go to Manhattan? I say yes, I want to go to Manhattan. What cuisine? If I put something which is not in the table, like Indo, it just says, wow, we do not have suggestions for Indo. Italian is the most popular. I want to go with Indian, so I'll go with Indian. Indian is the right one. Okay, how many people? Let's put 1000. It will throw an error. 1000 now. Something less than 30. I'll put 2. And for what date would you like to book? I'd like to book for yesterday, which is not possible. It will throw an exception. It throws an exception. I'll book for today then. And what time? I'll just put 12 p.m. Basic. Now it will give me a thing that your all expressions are met. I'll say thanks. And let's just wait for the email to arrive. Thank you intent is triggered. Now let's just wait. Yeah, so I have received the email containing here the restaurant recommendations, the Kathi roll company, Surya, Madam Ji, and Gazab. These are the rating, review, content, addresses. Now let's go to the extra credit part. Let's just reload it. Assume I'm a new user. I say, hey, the greeting intent is pushed. Then how there I can help. I want restaurant suggestions. And you can see that, can you give me your email address so I can send you restaurant suggestions? Yeah, so it should now automatically send me restaurant recommendations based on last. I put the same email address. Hi, your previously suggested restaurant recommendation. No, thank you. Now let's just see that if I receive the email or not. Yeah, so I received the email, which is the same restaurant recommendations from the last time, the Kathi, Surya, and Gazab. And the email is your previous restaurant suggestions. Now, if we go to my table called previous records, we'll see that there's an entry for my current user. This is the previous records table. If I reload it, you can see that I get an email with Indian, Manhattan, and the restaurant's information. So that's how it works. And yeah, thank you so much.